Have you ever needed to download a photograph or a graphic that someone else has created to use in a presentation you were developing? Or perhaps you needed to quote someone else's work in order to support your perspective in a paper you were writing. If so, then copyright has affected your life. Copyright ensures that the producers of work receive the appropriate credit for the work that they have done. Oftentimes, they may receive remuneration for that work. This plays in your favor if you are the producer. Copyright will ensure that the work you have produced is credited to you. Today we're going to look at one aspect of copyright, and this is entitled fair use. We're going to look specifically at 4 factors that we need to hold in contention in order to ensure that we are within fair use when utilizing the work that others have produced. Let's take a look at a definition of fair use. Fair use is a legal doctrine that portions of copyrighted material may be used without the permission of the owner, provided the use is fair and reasonable, does not substantially impair the value of the material, and does not curtail the profits reasonably expected by the owner. So how do we determine that we are within fair use when utilizing the work others have created? The law calls for a balanced application of 4 specific factors. These 4 factors come directly from the Fair Use provision, Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act. We're going to take a look at those 4 factors right now. Factor number 1, we need to evaluate the purpose and character of the use. Factor 2, we have to evaluate the nature of the copyrighted work. Factor 3, we have to evaluate the amount or substantiality of the portion used. And factor 4, we need to evaluate the effect of the use on the potential market for or value of the work. Let's take a closer look at factor number 1, the purpose and character of the work. Aspects that favor fair use are the following: a non-profit utilizing material for education purposes, in the use of a critique, a comment, a news report, in teaching, scholarship, or research. Also favoring fair use is if the user has transformed the work and not just reproduced the work. In any event, even if these aspects are present, we need to ensure that we are always crediting the original author. Factor number 2, the nature of the work. As we evaluate the nature of the work, we can look at things again that favor fair use. Is this work going to be published? Is it factual or non-fiction? And do we have educational objectives that are being fulfilled by the work we are producing? Opposing fair use are the following: if it's an unpublished work, if it is commercially available and can be purchased for use, and if it is a creative work like fiction, art, music, poetry, or film. These things are particularly protected by fair use because they involve a level of creativity that is unique to an individual. Let's explore factor number 3, the amount or substantiality of the work. Things that favor fair use are as follows: a small amount of work was used, the work that was used was appropriate for educational purposes, and the central theme of the work wasn't utilized. Things that oppose fair use. This is usually if large amounts of the work are utilized or if the heart of the work has been used. Now let's take a look at factor 4, the financial effect. Things that favor fair use. Have we purchased the right to utilize the particular resource? Is there significant effects on the market of this particular item? And is it linked to educational purposes as opposed to commercial purposes? Factors that will oppose fair use is if the work is reasonably available for purchase or licensing and we chose not to do so, if we have utilized an enormous amount of the work, or if we repeatedly use the work for long periods of time. As I mentioned earlier, these 4 factors must be weighted equally in order to determine whether or not we are within fair use. A balanced application of all 4 is important. Purpose and character, nature of the work, the amount or substantiality, and the financial effects must all be considered before we determine whether or not we are within fair use as we utilize the work someone else has created. Edward Howe said this: "A thief believes everybody steals." As we utilize the work that others have created, perhaps we're tempted to say, we don't need to credit the source. Everybody uses this work. Everybody steals a little bit. But you and I are each needing to be responsible for ourselves, for our own character, and for our integrity, and to ensure that we are people who are living a Christian life and a life that honors the work of others. C.S. Lewis reminds us that integrity means doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. So let's show mutual respect to each other, respect that we would want to have shown to us. Let us consider the words from Matthew 7, verse 12. Here is a simple rule of thumb guide for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, then grab the initiative and do it for them. I'm sure you and I would not be pleased if someone else took our work and utilized it without our permission or without giving us the credit that we deserved. So let's treat others the way we would like to be treated and show mutual respect for those who have invested time and energy in the development of resources that we would like to use in order to support our own work. Here I would like to recommend some other helpful resources that might be beneficial to you. At this link you'll be able to access the Center for Media and Social Impact, which will help you to explore further the impact of fair use on various forms of media that might be available, including movies and video clips. On the second resource that I recommend, Section 107 US Copyright Act, please go on and explore that for yourself so that you're sure that you understand fair use for yourself. And then this is a great tool that is free to download and accessible on this link, the Fair Use Checklist. Feel free to go through that checklist each time you are utilizing someone else's work. And remember, even if you are within fair use, credit the source appropriately. Here are the sources that I've used in order to develop the content and the look of this presentation. And here I would like to provide you with my works cited so that you can go and explore these aspects for yourself. I do pray that today you have learned a little bit more about fair use and that you will be utilizing it as you move forward. I also hope that people will treat you the same way you treat them in the use of their developed resources, and that you would treat them fairly, just as you want to be treated. Thank you very much for listening.